Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with Drang nach Osten, the drive east. We have actually pushed a little bit east, but we've had to fall back in other places. We are trying to hold in the Caucasus, and we're almost kind of sort of doing that. But that's about ready to collapse, and that's about ready to collapse. And these guys here, I don't know if we can. Very welcome, Emerson. But stay tuned to find out if we can hold, if we can drive, see how all this goes. But before we get into that, I want to thank Yogdog, Sir Khan, Chief, the Hoffmanator, and Sir Toyjet for support over on Patreon. It really goes to help support both my modding as well as the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate all that. But what I'm really just asking people to do, though, is we hit that like button. And, you know, for all of you who really want to see this particular series continue, once you get done fully watching this episode, and I hope you will, start it again. You know, close it out, start it again, and then just turn the audio off and minimize the screen and go do whatever else you want to do. And do that 1 or 2 times to get the view count up. What it really does is it tries to get the YouTube algorithm to try to show it to more people because it has been going down in views. So we will hopefully bring it up. New stuff is just a toy. Oh yeah. No, the G3 is a great rifle. Great rifle indeed. Okay. 2, 3. Okay, let's see how we are going. They're counterattacking us. Looks like we'll probably hold against that. That we probably hold. There we probably will hold. So that is good. Here is where I'm worried about. That's already falling back to there. Okay, they're pushing up to there. These guys will push over to here, I guess. These guys are holding here. These guys, yeah, they may hold. I like the HK91. Oh good, we got you guys here. You immediately go to there. And you head back to here to pick up more units and no longer be supplied from there. I don't like where the cocking handle is. That is the biggest deficit with the HK91 or the G3. That it's up on the foregrip. And it can really only effectively be cocked with the left hand. I know all soldiers should be taught to shoot right-handed, but if it's back towards the you know, the center of the gun where the trigger is, you can reach around with your right hand to cock it if you want to. Instead of you can use both hands, whatever side of the bolt it's on is normally on the left-hand side of the gun, but you can reach over and cock it with your other hand. And I know you got extra sort of leverage with the device up there, and it's good, but it's good when it works, when it's appropriate, but I really just don't like that aspect of it. The Germans started, after World War II, started out with the G1, the Gewehr one, which is an FNFAL rifle. And I don't know what the G2 is, quite honestly, but the G3 is, you know, the one replaces it. It's a very good rifle. It's in my top 3 major military 308 rifles. It's probably down at number 3. The FNFAL is at number 1. The M14/M1A is at number 2, I would say. Those would probably be my rankings of the top 3. It's a handicap. Yeah, like the AK, by the way. Well, the AK... Now, the Galil solves the problem by taking that handle and then bending it up over the top so you can use either hand on it. But you can just sort of half rotate the gun around and use your right hand on the cocking handle. So it's very, and that's also how you do it with a FAL. You can do it that way, but it's not required to do it. Cocking that way, so it's not as bad. It's an issue, but it's not as big an issue. And I don't know, guys. I worked for years in the firearms industry, and although, you know, I've shot a few machine guns in my life, a few times, but not a lot, but the civilian versions of the FALs, the M1As, or the M14s, this, the HK91, which is the civilian version, the semi-auto version, or whatever you want to call it, of, I have, I have an HK91. I have a bunch of FALs. I'm shot a lot of these guns, so I have a lot of comparisons on a lot of stuff. Some of the more modern, super modern stuff, I have not shot because I haven't been in the firearms industry for some years. But I've shot, and sometimes just shooting 2 or 3 magazines. I've shot through a few hundred different types of guns. I mean, a huge amounts, because I've had different experiences where I can just go and sort of at a gun convention that they used to hold here, and I could go shoot any gun I wanted, 5 rounds, because I worked in the industry and jump in front of the lines and just try everything. So I've tried so many semi-auto, bolt action, various pistols. So I've, over the years that I worked in it, I've just shot so much different types of guns. So I have a pretty good comparison to different types of stuff, and not just that I've shot a few types. So I have, most of what I'm giving you is coming from personal experience of guns, as well as reading, magazine articles and other reviews as well. So it's that, just so whenever you hear me talking about it, doesn't mean that I'm right about everything. It just means that they're my views, and they're views that have a certain amount of experience behind them. Okay. Just wanted to, I know not everybody watches everything, and a bunch of you already knew that, but I just wanted to make sure those didn't. So that's just background when I'm talking about guns. Okay, we've won there. We're under attack again down here. We've lost here, and they're being pushed back. Okay, but we're moving in reinforcements. Hopefully soon. We've won here. Okay. Well, since we've won here, let's keep these guys moving to here so they're not cut off. And we can move the garrison forces up there. Okay, we're being pushed back. Okay. Well, I know we've recently taken this ground, but we're sort of neat. We should probably fall back. Well, not next. Okay, fall back down to here. Fall back, fall back, fall back, fall back. Yep. I'm not going to fall back from here just yet. Okay, I think because we're sort of behind that river, I think we'll hold okay. Yeah, these guys are fairly weakish. I want to hold this river line here if I can, but yeah, we lost there. Okay, lost the province. Bring up some reinforcements. Let's fall you back and you back so we don't get cut off here. And of course, nobody has shot as many different types and strange and weird stuff as Gun Jesus, or also known as Ian from Forgotten Weapons. Now, he is super experienced with a lot of very rare stuff. A lot of very rare stuff, and not just sort of a lot of common things. So I've shot a few rarish things. Okay, fighter ground. Route training, probably keep that going. Let's just look at the year date. Yeah, we're going to keep that going. Keep the morale up of our pilots. Okay, that's the kind of thing I'm worried about. Shattering of divisions. We'll go deal with that in a moment. That's up here in, yes. And okay, so now we're holding here. Monsoon full swing. We've lost a province over there. Okay, that's the one we just retreated. We don't care about that. We're under attack there. We don't care about that. We don't care about what's down here right now. Here we can just How much is this going to cost? 5% till October for a month. Or we lose organization in the game. Okay, no, we'll pay for this. We'll pay. We'll pay. And what does Finland want? Oh, you can have all the energy you want. Major defeat, another one. Okay, well, one over here. That's where we lost. Okay, well, we're falling back here. We're falling back to here. Wish those had some supplies coming in. Okay, they just need to get recouped. Well, they have... Okay. We just haven't been able to... Well, I have not been doing a good job at managing the air. Let's see, can they fly to here? No. What do we have? Okay, those are the... Let's get some fighters up. Okay, I'm gonna delay that. I don't need that right now. Well, I maybe do, but I don't know where it'll pop up. It'll pop up in a useful spot enough. Okay, we've had 2 units shatter. Okay, you're one of those Finnish units that wasn't very good to start with. And you're one of the units out here, so let's... Where's our supply flow now? Not great. What paratrooper unit did we lose? We got shattered? Is that one of these down here? No. Oh, this was the one I attached over here somewhere. Okay, well, maybe send it down here. Maybe it'll do good in the Caucasus. The mountains. You need to get you over to the Caucasus as soon as we can. Okay, they just made it. They're good. So you get on board the ships. Rommel, get back on board the ships. You've been on the ships before, so you know what to do. And you get over to here as fast as you can. Rebase. Yeah, you get being ground away by these guys, even though you do have Panzerjägers. Okay, well, they're coming to there to hold that. What? Oh, these guys have been pushed back. Okay, these guys are holding there. Oh. Okay, what we need to do is hold in the mountains, not hold that mountain. So let's Let's just fall back to here. Well, let's send you back in, and you can stay right where you are. Try to notice you're neglecting. Yeah, I am neglecting the Luftwaffe. For multiple reasons. One, I'm just not terribly great at it. Two, it's finding air bases that are in supply that can handle some of this operations has been some of the problem we've been having here. Just so much of the area lacks supply. What province did we lose out here? Where? Oh, over here. Oh, they pushed us back to here again. Oh, damn. No, they haven't. Okay, yeah, this is a sort of Kursk area push. Well, I guess they'll eventually just push us back onto our supply lines. We can hold that, or keep that going and. Okay, what infantry division shattered from where? Oh, out here, yeah. I'll send them back. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Move it over here. Okay. Well, yes, let's get the Azul division, the blue division. Now, okay. We're going to talk a little bit about Spain in World War II. We recently just talked about Turkey in World War II, but Spain. People throw around the term fascist way too much. People call Trump a fascist. Trump is not a fascist. Trump has no fascist instincts in him at all. He is not a fascist. He may be an asshole, but he's not a fascist. Fascism believes in socialism. Fascists were founded by socialists. They're also strongly nationalistic, and they're not leveling socialist. Again, leveling, I don't know if you guys know, I use that term. It's not a commonly used term now. During the English Civil War era, sort of like 1650s, in England, there were a group of people that were levelers. Not necessarily in the way they would have seen it as everybody literally equal, but they definitely wanted to get rid of things like the aristocracy and particularly, rich people, sort of make everything equal. Now, they weren't communist in that they didn't want to own things collectively. They wanted like each farmer to own his farm, and not some big landowner to own a huge amount of land that then these farmers paid, were tenant farmers that paid rents to a landowner. They just wanted every farmer to own his own farm, every shoemaker to own his own shoemaker business. They weren't communists, but they were levelers. They wanted the society to be leveled, sort of equality, but not communal ownership. Communism purports to want to be leveling as well, make everything equal, but also communally ownership. So fascist types of socialists are not levelers. They're not trying to bring the top down to make everyone equally poor. Their socialism is want to take care of the poor. Keep the top can stay the top, but give them haircuts, if you know what I mean, shave them, take off their excessive wealth or whatever, and to be able to take care of the poor. So their socialism is trying to raise the poor up to a decent standard. They're still going to have poor people in socialism, but they're going to have a decent standard of living. Okay, I mean, this is not, there's corporatism, all that kind of stuff rolled into fascism. People throw around fascism. I just saw somebody today called Kyle Rittenhouse. He's the young man that got attacked by the Antifa people and shot a few of them. But he was being attacked by a mob, and he called him a fascist. Kyle Rittenhouse, I mean, I don't know him personally, obviously, and I can't imagine him being a fascist. He may be a conservative, but in no way is he a fascist. And I don't know why this person on Twitter, otherwise seems somewhat reasonable, calls him a fascist. In no way is he a fascist. So people throw around fascism way too easily. Okay, and so the right wing in America, if you don't know, are sort of libertarians, leave me the hell alone kind of people. They're not, they're the small government. Right wing in America is small government. It's not fascism or authoritarianism. That's on the left in America. America has not had really an authoritarian right since it got rid of King George in 1776. The right is not authoritarian. The right is anti-authoritarian. It's the left that's authoritarian in America. Just for the international audience. Hello, dog meat. How you doing? And I hope things are well for you in Sweden. And it's always good to know where people are from. And I know where some of you guys are from, and figure it out with others just to sort of know my audience. But I'm just sort of setting this up. Spain at this time, 1942, was not a fascist country. I know it's often called, and Franco was not a fascist. I know he's often called a fascist, but he was not. Now, there were fascists in the government. Forget the guy's name, but the foreign minister of Spain at this time was a phalangist, which is just the Spanish name for the fascist political party. And there's minute differences between Spanish phalangism and Italian fascism. But they're both fascist parties, but there's minute differences. But so Spain was not fascist. It was nationalistic. Nationalism is, and that nationalism can be different things at different times in different countries. But in Europe, generally speaking, at this time, is a right-wing pragmatist viewpoint. Okay. And so what right wing can be different in different countries, somewhat conservative, but not necessarily. And it's right wing pragmatism, we can call it that, and generally authoritarian at this time because hey, there's chaos in the world. So nationalism comes to often being authoritarian. Right wing can. Authoritarianism. Right-wing practical authoritarianism might be a good way to call nationalism. So, you're playing Hoi 4? Well, cool. We're playing 3 here. Hoi 4 is good as well. And so, Beam Slam is just from the south of you there in Sweden. And so it's like I said, the foreign minister for Spain was a fascist, but the government itself is not fascist. Fascists are part of the coalition because there's also monarchists, which are anti-fascists in Spain. There's just general authoritarianism. There's sort of conservative, mind what I'm saying, sort of Republican types. Some, that are people that weren't going for the Republicans in the Civil War so much because they turned more and more radical left. Radical anarchist, but sort of centrist type people that could deal with it. Okay, so so Franco is an authoritarian pragmatist of the right. He does not want to be involved in World War II. He also does not want to see world communist revolution. Hell, he just fought against it in the Spanish Civil War. He also knows Spain is... we're just going to hit the save button here. I found that if I don't do anything for the game for a while, it sometimes will just crash on me once I start doing things again, so I want to save it. But we're still talking about the Blue Division coming here in Spain. Spain is wrecked by the Civil War. Franco knows it. Franco knows this. Even if Germany's going to win the war, you know, whatever that means, he knows it's best that Spain stays out of it. So he's trying his best to keep Spain out of the war. He does not want to be on Germany's side. He would sort of like, you know, get Gibraltar and whatnot back, but he's a pragmatist. You know, sure, Gibraltar should be Spanish, he probably believes, but yeah, it's not enough to go to war over. And so, yeah, whatever, you know, so meaning if there's a peace agreement between Britain and Germany that Germany's winning, he doesn't, you know, even he'll stay out of the war even if he wouldn't even get as a bonus getting Gibraltar or something back. You know, he's good. He's, you know, he just wants to get Spain onto its feet again. So Germany, you know, Hitler comes and says, hey, won't you join us? Come on, join the war. And Franco says, yeah, sure, no problem. Here's my list of needs. We earlier talked about how poor the industry of Turkey was in World War I and World War II. Spain definitely has its own munitions factories, definitely has its own small arms, the Ibar area. They make a lot of pistols in World War I and makes rifles and other things. So they have their own small arms manufacturing. May not, well, it's pretty good size, probably enough for Spain to keep Spain going in bullets and rifles and machine guns, probably enough. But yeah, we're not doing too great here. So here's a big long list of what we need, like all this tons of wheat delivered per month and all this stuff. And what, you can't deliver that? Well, we can't join your war, Mr. Hitler, until you give us all this stuff. So basically he's telling Hitler no. So when I say he says yes, he's really saying no because he's putting conditions on it that he knows that basically Germany can't agree to, and probably if they start actually agreeing and delivering the stuff, he'll go, oh, but we also need this other stuff on this other list here we forgot to give you. So he's trying to, because he believes that if he says just no to Hitler, Hitler might, because this pressure is being put on before the war with Russia starts, Hitler might just invade him, along with, you know, Mussolini's Italy. Might invade him. So he's trying to say yes, but no. That's what he's saying. Okay. Now, he also doesn't want Britain to put pressure on to do anything. So he's sort of like, yeah, Britain, you know, hey, we're not joining Hitler. You don't want us to join Hitler. I mean, if you try to sink any of our ships that were, you know, going across the Atlantic or going somewhere, bringing in, so that's just food for Spain. No. Those pistols that look like Astra pistols that Germany is shooting people with, no, those weren't made in Spain, or they bought them at peacetime before the war. Yeah, all those munitions and weapons that Germany has. No, we didn't sell them to them. They somehow got them. Yeah, you better not. Oh, but if you you know, stop our resource convoys, that, oh, what about the resources going to Germany? Oh, no, that's a lie. Oh, no, those spy photos you have of us transferring cargo from train over to trains along the French-Spanish border. No, that's all a lie. That's just a lie. We're not really doing that. But you wouldn't want to stop our convoys because then we might actually join Hitler. So he's trying to keep the British from, you know, crippling Spain either on the other side. So he's trying to do this. Now, it has the fascists who sort of kind of want him in the war. And of course, he doesn't want to, you know, see world communism flare out. Now, his other ally on the peninsula, Salazar, he is also not a fascist. The Novo State Party in Portugal is not a fascist party. The Novo State or estate or whatever party. In Brazil, same name, is a fascist party in Brazil, but it is not in, and they're both Portuguese countries. So I know it's sort of confusing, but it's the same name. The New State Party, if you will, is a nationalistic party that does have fascistic elements in it, true, in Portugal, but is not a fascist party. Salazar hates Hitler. Salazar, I think it's in 1938, maybe it's sometime after 36 because it's in Third Reich events, writes a book against the Nuremberg laws. He writes and publishes a book that's an anti-Nazi book. He is an anti-Nazi. Yeah, he may not be an anti-fascist. He's definitely, he himself is not a fascist, but he is a pragmatic authoritarian person, and who's trying to bring Portugal into the modern world. But he is an anti-Hitler guy. So again, so much that he writes a book that's anti-Hitler. He is also telling Franco, don't join Hitler. Don't join Hitler. Let's keep the Iberian Peninsula at peace. Now that you solved your, because he actually sends or allows, maybe I don't know whether sends or allows volunteers to, Portuguese volunteers to fight on the nationalist side in the Spanish Civil War. Okay, so this is sort of setting the picture. Now, come around 1942. Hitler has broken his alliance with the Soviet Union, which when Hitler's asking Franco to come and join him in an attack on the British, he's still aligned with the Soviet Union, and which doesn't make Franco happy. Now, I don't think anybody's really thinking that Hitler and Stalin are now best buddies, but still doesn't make some people happy. So, but now he's back at war with the Soviet Union and being hostile. Maybe technically wasn't at war before, but was definitely, like in Spain, doing anti-communist moves. He's back at war with communism. Franco does not, like I say, does not want to see world communism win. Franco is unsure of if Hitler is defeated, what is the French government going to be like? Is it going to be a Soviet puppet, like Spain was going to be? Because trust me, when the generals revolted and tried to do the coup against the Republican government of Spain, which Franco was not involved in the initial coup, as far as I can tell. Maybe he was, but as far as I can tell, he was not involved. He comes in after the coup fails and the Civil War breaks out. And the Spanish Republic is moving more and more radical to the left. To the point that there is leftist death squads going around killing landowners and other people that seem to stand in the way, and the last breaking straw is killing a popular general. They arrest him. Oh, we didn't kill him. Well, why was he found dead in the gutter with a bunch of bullets? Well, we don't know. We just arrested him. We don't know what happened to him after that. He must have shot himself, or maybe some random drive-by people got him. We don't know. Of course, the death squads killed him. And that triggers because the generals know, oh shit, you're killing our generals now that don't agree, that are not, you're not just firing them and, sending them, you're fired, go home. No, you're actually killing us. That's what pushes the generals finally into revolting against the Republican government. And whether that Republican government would have become a Soviet puppet, it's definitely clear that the Republican government that the Soviets come into, and you can read about some of the details of the Spanish Civil War, the Soviets were engineering the situation that only forces alike, because there's lots of different factions within the Republican side of the Civil War, only the factions that were loyal and controlled by Soviet commissars were getting proper resources and supplies, so the other units were getting defeated, and so the pro-Soviet forces were coming. If Spain had the Republicans won, would have been a Soviet puppet. Well, there's a Communist Party in France. There's huge numbers of, tens of thousands of former Republican soldiers that fled into France that are still in France at this time, 1942. Tens of thousands of Spaniards in France waiting to take up arms in the communist leftist cause. Okay, he's afraid of that if somehow Germany loses, well, yeah, it may be looking like Britain and America sort of, conservative democracies are going to rule the world. According to my old history, Franco was a power-hungry opportunist who would have called himself Martians if it helped him. Dog meat. Well, I don't know. Franco was not power-hungry. Franco was, when the Spanish Civil War breaks out, he's sitting out here in these Canary Islands kicking it. Because he was, a war hero from fighting down in here, a war hero from going after a radical, I think it's a radical right wing earlier breakout here. No, he's your teacher is wrong in my opinion. He is out here. He's happy to be a general who's employed in doing a do nothing job. It is only the killing of other high generals that were in Madrid at the time, arresting one and he ends up dead. Don't know if that was the plan when they arrested him, but he ends up dead, full of bullet holes. So he didn't just fall out of a window or something. He, trip and fall and hit his head on the concrete. He's dead because of that. That triggers other generals to try a coup, not start a civil war. The civil war only starts because of the failure of the coup. And then that's when Franco is flown in by a British pilot, actually. Just a private citizen is hired with a plane to fly Franco from the Canary Islands into mainland Spain. And only then does the Germans supply the Ju-52s to transport a bunch of his army of Africa, a bunch of the both Spanish and what you'd call Moroccan troops from down here up to Spain to help out. It's only then does he come involved in it, and so he is not an opportunist. Meaning he wasn't looking for an opportunity to be Caesar and become a ruler. He at least everything that I've ever read, he's just waiting in the wings, just being a general. It's only the Civil War breaking out does it force him into going into it. And yes, he doesn't step down. George Washington is he is not an opportunist either. He in America, he wins the American, Revolutionary War against the British. He is not the first president. There is a president before George Washington. I forget his name. Everybody forgets his name. Everyone says George Washington is the first president of the United States. He is not. The first president of the United States, I don't know who he was. He is the first president under our current Constitution, because there was first the Articles of Confederation. The presidency was just sort of like the guy who presided over whatever, and it wasn't working. There's the Whiskey Rebellion. Up there, George Washington sort of raises an army, puts down the Whiskey Rebellion. People didn't want to, what it was, they didn't want to pay taxes on their whiskey, and that's why it was the Whiskey Rebellion. And they went up in arms and sort of revolted, not trying to get independence, but didn't want to pay the taxes. He leads an army in to put that down. And only once they sort of figure out these Articles of Confederation aren't good enough, they form the new Constitution, and then he's elected president under that, and that's when he becomes, and then he runs for, he's the second term, and then he steps down. No, Franco doesn't step down, but he sets up the situation. He does not keep the nationalists in power when he dies. He sets up to have the king come back to preside over a country that he wants to see stable. He wants to set up a stable Spain. And it has not broken out in civil war since he has died. In 1975, I think it was that he dies, but maybe a year or two off, I'm not sure. And so Franco sets up to have the king come back, to have a constitution that will allow socialists to be in it. He just doesn't want to see a socialist revolution. So he's trying to set up a monarchy to sort of keep not to have an authoritarian monarchy. There is even an attempt after he dies by a fascist coup to take it over that fails. No, he is not trying to have fascism stay. He's not trying to have the nationalists stay in power. He is trying to have a setting that will have a peaceful Spain, that conservative Spaniards, not like conservative Americans, but conservative Spaniards, meaning those, that, because the Republicans were going in and shooting all the nuns in a nunnery, or we're going to shooting all the priests in a or brothers in a I always blank on the words monastery. Yeah, they owned a bunch of land, and the priests sort of oversaw it, and it was a monastery, and the Republicans went and just shot everybody. What were these damn monks doing that needed the death squad to come in and just shoot everybody? Well, because he wanted a Spain that could have monasteries, could have nunneries, not necessarily, he might like it to be a super conservative religious state, but that's not what he's setting up. He's setting up to have a monarchy, to then have democratic representation under it. So I really admire, you can tell, I admire what Franco did leading Spain through this time period. He's not perfect. He did bad things, I'm sure, but he keeps Spain out of the war, and he sets Spain into a stable government situation. So in doing so this is part of what we're talking about him doing here. He has these fascists, his phalangists in his country. America has entered the World War II. Germany is looking like it's doing okayish in fighting the Soviet Union. So what he does is set up to have, because he's still getting a lot of pressure from Germany, set up a volunteer division, actually a fairly large division, larger than a normal German division, gets reorganized a bit, that is primarily made up of volunteers that are primarily phalangists. So, like I say, he doesn't want the Soviet Union to win the war. That doesn't mean he wants the Germans to win the war either. Now, because if the Soviets win the war, meaning the Soviets drive into Berlin and then drive into Paris, Soviet armies march into Paris. Remember, and I'm sure Franco knew this, Russian armies marched into Paris to throw Napoleon out. Okay, there was the Russian, large army that marched into Paris that throws Napoleon out. So there's been Russian armies in Paris before. And 150 years ago, yeah, I know, but not that long ago in the big scheme of things. So there might be a Russian army coming. So he doesn't want to see that either. He might be good with the Western allies defeating Germany, but not the Soviets. So he sets this up. But he's also sending a bunch of his most radical, violent elements in his government out to go fight and die. This is a pragmatic step as well. It's pragmatic on multiple levels. This is not a punishment battalions. They could have sent out because he does maintain prisoner of war camps as he sees them as sort of radical Spaniards that had fought against them, but they're not huge numbers like we might see in other countries like Germany or the Soviet Union, but they do exist. They may not be good places to be in. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but they're not. And the people may not be fed enough just because Spain is not getting enough food at this time. But they're not death camps or gulags like the Soviet Union, or death camps like the Nazis. They're not like that. I'm not saying they're holiday camps, but to the best of my knowledge, they may be brutal places, but they're not like the other examples of it. So he's sending off these radical elements to go fight in the Soviet Union. Now, once it becomes rather clear that Germany is losing the war, he recalls the Blue Division to Spain. But there's still a really hardcore element that I think, and I haven't read in detail on this, I think somewhere between rebelling against his order, and he just knows that these are sort of hardcore types, he allows them to stay. So there's sort of like a brigade or whatever that stays on afterwards. But he can basically tell the Western Allies, hey, I've recalled the official army troops that we had sent out to go, volunteers to go fight. Yeah, there's a few nut jobs that are diehards. They're still out there, but they don't really matter. There's just, like 600-800 of them or whatever it is. They're just fighting. No problem with them. I've called the division home. So he is trying to balance out and keep everybody sort of sweet in World War II. And so, I respect what he had to do to keep, you may not like Franco. You may be a left-wing loon and want to have communism in power. Okay, but, really he was trying his best to stabilize a country. I am sure people that he felt that he committed crimes, like, butchering all of the nuns in a nunnery, those people he would want to keep in prison for the rest of their lives or execute them or something like that. He very well might want to do that. But he wasn't necessarily just trying to keep former opponents in prison forever. He was just afraid that, they might do terrorist attacks. And there were terrorist, Republican or leftist terrorist attacks after Franco was clearly in power. And they were hunting some of these people. And yeah, it's sort of bad, but hey, this was a really rough time to be alive in. And so I admire Franco for doing what he has done. Not perfect. Totally admit that. But okay, let's see. Let's just sort of... We've won here again. Okay, armor plating for landing craft. I think that is one and done. Good. Gun positions when engineer planes advance. And hey, if you guys, either whether in chat now or later on, want to refute some of my, it's gun positions, that is over here. Refute some of my stuff, go ahead. I'm willing to either learn or just hear what you have to say is different. Okay, and with one up here, good. So since we did all that, we're going to hit save again. We did remove the time clock, so let's just get more. But we've deployed the Blue Division out. I think that's going to be it for this episode. Like I say, tell me what I've gotten wrong about Franco. Always willing to hear differing viewpoints, and maybe post who and why you admire somebody in World War II. Could be a national leader, or it could be just a particular person for what they did or in the war. What's ugly? During the time, if you put any leader under a microscope, you would find bad stuff. If you compare it to this day, and absolutely dog meat. It's that kind of thing, and so that's why I admire Franco. Now, I'm not a conservative Catholic. He also had a really weird anti-Masons, Masonic type, anti-Masonry type fetish. He was not, to the best of my knowledge, particularly anti-Jewish or anything. Not that he was pro-Jewish, but and he was, I don't want to live in an authoritarian state, but I'd rather live in a conservative, right-wing authoritarian state than a Soviet state. If I got to pick between this or that, I'm going to pick that. It doesn't mean that I want to live there, but now he was an American of sort of Spanish descent, if you will. A friend of mine lived under Franco in Spain. He said he loved it. Now, of course, being a foreigner, it may be different than being a Spaniard, but he loved it living there in Spain back in the early 70s under Franco. But, I don't know. That's his opinion of living there. Well, Franco is not my cup of tea, as he was a dictator killing his own people like the other dictators used to. Yeah, but it's like I say, it's the time and the situation. Going through a bloody civil war like he did. Yeah, That's why that's why I admire him, for what he achieved, for what I think he tried to do with a bad situation. Okay, well, thank you everyone. Thanks for getting this far. I'd like to hear your opinions. Again, post who you admire during World War II and why. I'd love to hear that. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be controversial or something, but just who you do. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.